Have you ever met someone whose presence made you uneasy, though they did all the right things? They smiled, they spoke kindly, yet something about them didn't sit right with you. It's as if there was an invisible wall between you and them, even though, on the surface, everything seemed perfect. There's a subtle dissonance in these interactions, a tension that we can't always name, but can deeply feel. It's the kind of energy that lingers in the background of our relationships, quietly affecting the way we perceive others and ourselves. But what if this discomfort has nothing to do with the other person, and everything to do with what we haven't yet confronted within ourselves? Carl Jung once said, "What we fail to confront within ourselves, we will encounter outside as fate." These aren't just words, they're a profound insight into the human psyche. When we deny or repress parts of ourselves, our emotions, our desires, our shadow, they don't disappear. Instead, they manifest in our relationships, often in ways that leave us confused, unsettled, and out of alignment. This video isn't about evil in the conventional sense, but about the hidden psychological forces, our shadows, that influence the way we connect with others. By exploring the shadow within, we uncover what's truly influencing our lives. Today, we'll dive deep into Carl Jung's concept of shadow work and how these hidden forces can affect your relationships, your peace, and your path to self-discovery. Stay with me through this journey, and together, we'll unravel the mysteries that lie beneath the surface. Behind the charm, a denial. Behind the smile, sometimes a shadow. We all wear masks, psychological masks, that help us navigate the world. These masks are what Carl Jung calls the persona, the social self we project to others. It's the version of ourselves that we allow the world to see, carefully crafted to fit societal expectations, to be liked, or to conform to roles we're told we should play. The persona is necessary for survival. It allows us to function in society, to meet others' needs, and to maintain harmony. But what happens when we lose sight of the deeper self beneath the mask? The persona becomes problematic when we over-identify with it, when it becomes more than just a mask. When we no longer know where the persona ends and the true self begins, we risk living a life that is inauthentic. We risk becoming strangers to ourselves, trapped in a performance. This is where Jung's concept of shadow projection comes in. What we fail to see in ourselves, we project onto others. The parts of us that we repress, the traits we dislike, the emotions we deny, the desires we suppress, these are our shadow. Instead of confronting these parts within ourselves, we project them onto others, often without even realizing it. Have you ever felt that someone accused you of something that didn't feel true? Or perhaps you've felt misunderstood by someone, as if they were seeing in you a version that wasn't yours at all? That's projection at work. In these moments, our unconscious mind is pointing fingers at someone else, reflecting our unresolved inner conflicts and denying our own emotional truths. This projection is an unconscious defense mechanism, a way to avoid confronting uncomfortable parts of ourselves. When we project our shadow onto others, we distort relationships, see flaws where there may be none, and refuse to acknowledge the very parts of us that need healing. By embracing our shadows and integrating them, we step closer to living authentically, shedding the mask and aligning with our true selves. The most dangerous people are not those who openly reveal their flaws, but those who unconsciously conceal them so well they vanish into their own disguise. Projection and unconscious repression often go unnoticed, and they can make individuals more dangerous than they appear. When we suppress parts of ourselves, whether it's anger, jealousy, insecurity, or fear, those emotions don't disappear. Instead, they get projected outward, casting shadows onto others. We blame them for the very traits we are unwilling to confront in ourselves. This creates a distorted view of reality, shaping our relationships with misunderstanding, distrust, and misplaced judgment. Jung believed that we cannot truly see others unless we confront our own darkness. When we project our shadow, we project our blind spots too. In the heat of conflict, these projections warp our perception of others. What we dislike in ourselves often becomes the trait we perceive in others. The danger is that by avoiding our own inner work, we can end up living in a world that we've created from the fragments of our unconscious. This brings us to persona inflation. A person who becomes identified with the savior, the prophet, or the bearer of absolute truth. The persona is a mask, a social construct, but it can become a trap when we begin to identify so fully with it that it eclipses our authentic self. We adopt the role of the hero, savior, or guru, and begin to believe that our worth is tied to a public identity. The ego fuses with the archetype it has chosen, blinding us to the nuances of our own humanity. Ego inflation is a slippery slope. It manifests as a lack of self-doubt, an unshakable certainty that leaves no room for growth, self-reflection, or the possibility of being wrong. It breeds moral absolutism, where right and wrong are rigidly defined, leaving no space for empathy, understanding, or the gray areas that make up human relationships. It fosters an inability to consider different perspectives, which only isolates us further from others. The impact on others is profound. Their certainty becomes magnetic, but this clarity is an illusion. People drawn to those with inflated personas often mistake confidence for truth. But beneath the surface, there's little room for vulnerability or growth. The inflated persona may shine brightly, but its light is artificial, and its influence, while potent, stems from a place of illusion, not authentic self-awareness. By recognizing projection and ego inflation in ourselves, we can break free from the masks we wear and reconnect with our true, unshielded selves. Archetypes are universal patterns of human experience stored in the collective unconscious. Carl Jung's concept of archetypes speaks to the universal patterns embedded within the human psyche, roles, behaviors, and symbols that emerge across cultures and time. These archetypes, such as the hero, the victim, the savior, and the judge, are not mere stereotypes. They are fundamental patterns of human experience, reflecting deep truths about our shared nature. We each carry these archetypes within us, and they influence the way we view the world and interact with others. But what happens when these archetypes take over? When someone is overtaken by an archetype, they begin to act not as themselves, but as a role. When we become possessed by an archetype, we lose our individuality and become enmeshed in the role we're playing. It could be the martyr who sacrifices their needs for others, the savior who feels compelled to rescue everyone around them, or the judge who constantly evaluates and condemns others in their mind. Archetypal possession strips away the nuanced complexity of who we truly are, replacing it with a rigid, one-dimensional identity. This is the danger of archetypal possession. They stop questioning their thoughts or feelings. They do not feel doubt. When someone becomes too identified with an archetype, their ability to see beyond that role fades. They lose the capacity for self-reflection, for questioning their own beliefs, or even for acknowledging their flaws. This leads to rigidity, a frozen way of thinking and being that prevents personal growth. The hero, always fighting battles, may become blind to their own vulnerabilities. The savior may forget the importance of their own needs. The judge may fail to see the humanity in others, instead seeing everything as black and white. Archetypal possession stifles evolution. It keeps us trapped in narrow, repetitive roles, incapable of embracing the complexity and depth of our true selves. Recognizing when we've been overtaken by an archetype is the first step to freeing ourselves from its control, allowing us to step back into the fullness of our own lives. Why does a person always seem to end up back in the same painful place? You might have experienced it yourself, repeatedly falling into the same unhealthy patterns or facing the same emotional struggles, even when you've tried so hard to break free. This is not a coincidence. It's repetition compulsion, an unconscious drive that leads individuals to relive unresolved trauma from their past. It's as though, despite the pain, something within you is drawn to these old wounds, pushing you to revisit them again and again. This compulsion to repeat is rooted deep within the psyche. Early emotional imprints from childhood or traumatic experiences shape the way we perceive and react to the world around us. These unresolved emotional experiences form the core of unconscious complexes that govern our behavior throughout life. As we mature, these early wounds often attract similar negative patterns. We may unknowingly recreate circumstances that echo our past hurts, trying to find a way to resolve the pain that we didn't process or understand at the time. Pain, when it's what we've always known, becomes strangely magnetic. The unconscious mind has a paradoxical relationship with pain. Even though it may seem like we're seeking comfort or healing, there's something in our deepest being that finds familiarity in pain, almost like it's magnetic. If we haven't fully processed past trauma, our psyche often gravitates toward the very situations that allow us to repeat those emotional wounds. In some strange way, unresolved trauma becomes a part of our identity, making it difficult to break free from the cycle. Trauma doesn't just affect your past, it colors the way you see the world. It distorts your perceptions and shapes your behavior, often making you react to present situations as if they were the past. This makes it nearly impossible to move forward without consciously addressing the hidden forces at play. Until these unresolved emotional imprints are recognized and healed, the cycle continues. Recognizing repetition compulsion is the first step toward breaking free from this perpetual loop of emotional pain. The first step to healing is breaking the silence. For too long, the unconscious parts of you, the shadow, have been lurking in the background, driving your behaviors and reactions without your awareness. The cycle of repetition can feel endless, like you're trapped in a loop of mistakes, regrets, or emotional pain. But healing begins when you break that silence, when you confront the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Radical self-honesty is key. This means speaking the truth to yourself, even when it's uncomfortable or painful. It's about acknowledging the parts of your psyche that have been hidden or repressed for years. Start by being honest about the patterns that continue to show up in your life. When you are able to self-reflect with compassion and not judgment, you create the space for integration to begin. Compassionate observation is the second tool to use. Observe your emotions, behaviors, and triggers without identifying with them. Notice the feelings and thoughts that arise in certain situations. Instead of acting on them or pushing them away, simply witness them. This detachment allows you to understand your patterns without being consumed by them. This is the essence of shadow work. Learning to understand and accept your unconscious aspects, integrating them into your conscious self. The importance of awareness cannot be overstated. As Carl Jung said, we must be willing to see what we refuse to look at in ourselves. To break the cycle, you must be willing to look at the things you've been avoiding, the uncomfortable, the hidden, the parts of you that make you feel vulnerable. Ask yourself, what patterns do I keep repeating? What parts of me am I rejecting? These questions will help you uncover the unconscious motivation that have been driving your behavior. Healing isn't about avoiding the shadow, it's about embracing it and allowing it to become a part of you, a path to wholeness. Integration is not about eliminating the shadow, but developing a relationship with it. The journey toward healing and growth is not about perfecting ourselves or erasing the parts we deem flawed. True personal growth lies in embracing our imperfections and contradictions, accepting them as essential components of who we are. Rather than striving for an unattainable ideal, the path to wholeness is about integrating every aspect of ourselves, light and dark, strength and weakness, joy and pain. This process is known as individuation, the unfolding journey where we bring unconscious aspects of ourselves into conscious awareness, accepting them as vital to our unique journey. Individuation, according to Jung, isn't a straight path. It's a gradual process of becoming whole by reconciling the opposing forces within us. We often see ourselves as broken, divided between our ego and our shadow. But in reality, true wholeness comes only when we integrate the shadow, the hidden and repressed parts of our psyche that we avoid. These hidden aspects, when fully embraced, unlock our full potential and provide the wisdom, creativity, and strength needed to live authentically. True wisdom is marked by humility, by the ability to sit with doubt. To truly heal and grow, we must cultivate self-compassion. This means sitting with discomfort and uncertainty, accepting the reality of our flaws, and offering ourselves kindness rather than harsh judgment. Emotional maturity comes from the ability to acknowledge that we are not perfect, nor are we meant to be. Growth doesn't happen in a place of certainty, but rather in embracing the unknown, questioning our beliefs, and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. The path to wholeness is about accepting and embracing both the light and the dark within. By doing so, we not only achieve personal growth, but also foster the wisdom to lead a life rooted in authenticity, compassion, and true self-awareness. As we come to the end of this journey, it's important to remember the core message. Shadow integration is not just a psychological process. It is the key to personal empowerment and the foundation of healthy relationships. By facing the unconscious parts of ourselves, our hidden fears, desires, and wounds, we reclaim the lost pieces of our true selves. It is only through this integration that we can truly experience personal wholeness. As we accept both our light and our dark, we transform our lives free from the chains of repression and self-judgment. What part of me is trying to be heard, healed, or redeemed? This question invites you to explore the inner parts of yourself that have been silenced or ignored. What is your shadow trying to teach you? Which aspects of yourself are still waiting for recognition? The act of self-reflection is the first step toward healing, and it's through this process that the shadow can be brought into the light, offering you the potential for profound transformation. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment below. Share your thoughts, experiences, or reflections, and let's continue this conversation together. Your story might just be the inspiration someone else needs to start their own path of integration. And if you want to learn more about Jungian psychology, shadow work, and how to live authentically, don't forget to subscribe for more content. Share this video with anyone who may be struggling or seeking to understand the power of integrating the shadow. Your journey toward wholeness begins now. Embrace it with courage and love.